What is agricultural exceptionalism? By Jocelyn Furtado. From production to distribution, the food industry has historically been treated differently in the law. The notion that farm life and food production require special protections is often referred to as agricultural exceptionalism. Trace origins of this concept go back to Thomas Jeffersonian notions of a well distributed and agrarian food system. Before the 20th century, food safety regulation was generally a matter of state and local concern. Public support for federal food safety laws grew as food safety problems were exposed. Food law is a part of law that encompasses all rules, regulations, case law, and soft law regarding food, making the practice of food law a functional area and placing attention on societal application rather than principle. U.S. food laws are enforced by federal agencies with the authority to conduct inspections, enforce regulations, and impose penalties for noncompliance to ensure a high level of adherence to safety standards. There are three levels of food law: global, national and regional, business and consumer. The U.S. food safety system, which oversees food law, is multifaceted, involving producers, processors, shippers, retailers, and consumers. The U.S. government upholds enforcement agencies such as the Food and Drug Administration, the United States Department of Agriculture, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Center for Disease Control. These agencies work under various statutes and agreements to ensure the food supply is safe and just. Food law warrants different legal treatment than other industries. Agricultural operations are exempt from compliance with certain environmental laws and labor laws and protected from tort liability under state tort laws. The FDA and USDA are two branches that conduct regular inspections and surveillance to ensure compliance with food safety laws. This system has been historically used to provide public transparency and consumer trust, preventing foodborne illness. Historically, common law nuisance actions provided an avenue for rural landowners to defend their land, livelihoods, health, and quality of life, and the environment from neighboring incompatible land use. The United States food system has changed significantly from the 1980s to today. In 1984, the Fines Enhancement Acts amended the U.S. Code to increase penalties for all federal offenses, raising the maximum fine for all individuals to $100,000 for each offense and $250,000 if death is caused. For corporations, these amounts doubled. In 1988, the Food and Drug Administration Act establishes the FDA as an agency of the Department of Health and Human Services with the Commissioner of Food and Drugs appointed by the President with advice and consent of the Senate. Responsibilities include research, enforcement, education, and information. In 1994, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act was formed. It established labeling requirements, regulatory framework, and authorization to the FDA to promulgate good manufacturing practices for dietary supplements. In 2011, the Food Safety Modernization Act was put in place. This provided the FDA with new enforcement authorities over food safety standards and gave the FDA tools to hold imported foods to the same standards as domestic foods. It also directed the FDA to build an integrated national food safety system in partnership with state and local authorities. In 1972, the Clean Water Act took shape in the United States. It established the basic structure for regulating discharges of pollutants into the waters of the U.S. and regulated quality standards for surface waters. It implemented pollution control programs such as setting wastewater standards for the industry and developed national water quality criteria recommendations for pollutants in surface water. An example in law where agriculture was not held to the same standard as other industries can be looked at through Lois Alt versus EPA, where Lois Alt sued the Environmental Protection Agency in federal court, arguing that her large chicken farming operation was exempt from the CWA. On October 23rd, the judge ruled in her favor in an alarming decision where thousands of large industrial farming operations would not need permitting for water runoff. According to the EPA, more than 80,000 miles of rivers and streams are considered impaired due to nutrient pollution. The National Water Quality Assessment shows that agricultural runoff is the leading cause of water quality impacts to rivers and streams, the third leading source for lakes, and the second largest source of impairments to wetlands. The Codex Alimentarius is an international set of food standards that protect public health by ensuring food safety and fair trade practices. Established in 1963, the Codex Alimentarius is a compilation of codex standards, guidelines, and codes of practice developed jointly by experts from Codex members representing over 99% of the world's population. There has been increased momentum for food trade and international law after entering the World Trade Organization agreement in 1995. The United States Codex Office, housed in the USDA's Trade and Foreign Agricultural Affairs, leads the U.S. Codex program. United States stakeholders participate through submitting data that the Codex risk assessment bodies can use for technical expertise and promoting Codex standards globally. The United States Codex analysts work with regulatory scientists and experts from various government agencies and non-government stakeholders to facilitate coordination, strategic planning, and outreach events on food standards. This activates participation, influences policy and standards, aligns with domestic relations, strengthens food safety systems, and reinforces the U.S. standards globally. Animal agriculture is the primary contributor to climate change. According to the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization, the global livestock sector contributes to 7.1 gigatons of CO2 annually, roughly equating to the same share as all transportation-related activities. The concept of agricultural post-exceptionalism describes the partial transformation in policy characterized by a layered mix of the exceptionalist heritage with new elements addressing new concerns such as environmental, climate, animal welfare, or food quality protection. Post-exceptionalism indicates a partial transformation of exceptionalist ideas, institutions, interest, constellations, and policy instruments, reflecting on more complex, open, contested, fluid nature of contemporary policy fields that maintain policy heritage. The U.S. agriculture may be moving into a post-exceptionalism phase, with the constant challenge of global competition, climate change pressures, and new technological advancements. American agriculture is being pushed towards a leadership role in sustainability and technology rather than a dominance over the market.